Okay. So, welcome. So we welcome ourselves as this aware presence. Hearing these words, we welcome whatever sensations appear to us. Whatever thoughts, images appear to us. We are this welcoming space that has no gates. Eternally saying yes, like the light of the sun that has no on or off switch. By its very nature, it shines. And by your very nature, you are aware. So we recognize this effortless awareness, which is our very self. That is beyond any distinction. The many distinctions of the mind. We recognize ourselves as this effortless, transparent, aware presence. Notice how the fabric of your experience right now, this moment, is awareness. The very essence of your being. Is this aware presence. Your entire experience is that. There isn't any aspect of your experience, this moment, which is not made out of awareness. You're aware of hearing the sound, of sensing your feet on the ground, of breathing, subtle, gentle movement, flow. And you're aware that you are aware. Whether you're aware of hearing this voice or you're aware of being aware, it's the same awareness. When you are walking down the street, when you are feeling the sunshine on your face, when you are hearing the song of the birds, when you're aware that you're aware, it's the same awareness. Open, infinite, borderless, the peace of being. non-dual, not limited in any fashion. Like the wide open sky, the ocean of being. Takes on the form of hearing, sensing sensations within the body, the sensory realm. Takes on the form of wind and sunshine, sunrise and sunset. Takes on the form of planets and stars and galaxies. While remaining this borderless awareness. You can call it reality, consciousness. One and the same. Consciousness being the awareness aspect, the knowing aspect, the perceiving aspect. Reality being the being aspect, the amness, the isness, the amness of I, and the isness of the universe, the world. One and the same. This borderless awareness does not know any obstacles. It is the peace the creator of all creations, this moment, every moment, the eternity of being and the eternity of creation. The omnipresence and omnipotence. It is via your own creation that you create the play, the game of separation. You create infinite forms, infinite events. And out of your love for excitement, you identify yourself. And upon identifying yourself, limiting yourself, you play the game of lack and pursuit of objective, phenomenal happiness. Which is a figment of your imagination, of your creativity. And then you play the pinball machine game, flipping the flippers, hitting that ball so that it bounces from object to object to object. Hitting some and scoring some points, and missing some and feeling disappointed and trying harder. You play the game of phenomenal happiness. You imagine that happiness is measurable in dollars and homes you own, relationships you have, and excitements, travels, and you name it. and you create a whole world in which you populate with characters of your own creation. That support you in playing the game of happiness tomorrow, happiness in the world, happiness in money, experiences. And out of your creativity, you make sure that this identification, this limitation, not only is believed in, but it's also felt within every cell of your creation. All along, here you are, the magician, the creator, sitting in your comfortable seat, watching this show. Making sure that, although in fact you are watching the show of your own creation, you have self-induced amnesia. The so-called veil. How can you veil the sunshine? How can you truly veil awareness? Are you not aware this very moment? Irrespective of what is appearing on the screen, are you not aware this moment? Is this awareness located in some part of your body? Is that, or is your body, whichever way it appears, appearing in awareness? Can you see through the illusion that awareness is limited and located behind your eyes or in your brain or in your heart? Or can you see through this illusion? Just notice it Awareness is not local, no location. You can locate your car in the garage or a basket of fruit on the kitchen table. But awareness, that which is right now the reality of being, formless, shapeless, free, joyful, beyond need, beyond the desire, beyond seeking. There is a Zen koan that asks, what is your true face? Before your parents were born, what is your true face? Any questions? Oh, okay, Margot. Let me see. Oh.
Oh, there, it's working. It's working. Hi, Magdi. Can you hear me?
Let's see. How can I unmute? Are you muted, Margot?
Can you hear me?
Oh, I cannot hear you. Yes.
I can hear Marco.
Oops. What am I doing? Could it be on my end? Let me see.
I can hear her fine.
Oh yes. Okay, I hear you. I hear you, Ta.
It must be on your end if you can't. Oh, you can hear me.
Yes, I hear you.
And you can't hear me?
Holger, can I hear? Oh, Margot?
You can hear me? Okay.
Oh yes. Okay. I hear you, Margot. Okay.
Hi.
Yes,
Thank
okay.
you.
Yes.
I said I have a question. I guess it's it's not really a question, but when I woke up this morning, I was thinking about John's call yesterday and what he was talking about. It was much on my mind, and it really struck me how beautiful it is when people share their truth of what's going on with them, because it's, you know, with no separation, it's all of us, you know. It seems like an individual experience, but the voice that he was hearing is the human experience of separation. And it struck me that, you know, if you came to a friend or if you came to this group and you said, I have this diagnosis, and someone said, well, the worst is going to happen. You're going to be, you know, blind and homeless and penniless and the worst you could imagine, you wouldn't allow that person in your life. You'd say, you know, that's not helpful, go away. Yet that voice is in the most intimate, private part that we perceive of self. And it struck me how universal that human experience voice is. And then I was thinking about grace and how we have these experiences that we label as bad and good, and they're neither when we actually live through them. And grace is there, not in the imagination, but in the lived experience of going through things. And grace is there with you in the stress of good and the stress of bad and everything in between. It's beyond what that inside misperception could ever perceive or imagine. And it was just beautiful that John was willing to share that. And I just wanted to send good thoughts his way for the grace that will be with him through whatever comes next. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Margot, yes. You know, in the world, there is movement and change and events unfolding. In the body, there are all sorts of changes, events happening cells dying, others being thoughts, flow of thoughts, sensations, feelings. It's all the dance of Shiva. It's the Shakti aspect of Shiva, the movement of the unmovable. But there is no separate subject within the realm of existence. Everything exists equally. There are no levels of existence. There isn't a more particular existence and less particular existence. And the substance or the essence of experience or existence is non-existence. It's out of the entire ocean that there are waves, but the waves don't have an existence of their own. So we are viewing, at some level we are viewing. We're viewing the body, we're viewing the mind, we're viewing the world. Like a movie. And the viewer of the movie is not in the movie. He's not, when you're viewing a baby that's growing and aging, the viewing is not aging. The viewing is not in time. The movie is in time and space. Grace orchestrates the entire show, and also it's available to you whenever you forget yourself as this presence and you imagine yourself and feel yourself to be a person subject to conditions. When you step out of the viewing and you're now on the stage, you're now an object viewed, you're now a perceived form. Grace is there to remind you. It reminds you, no, you're viewing, you're enjoying, you're not suffering, you're not losing or gaining, you're viewing. Viewing. So the greatest form of compassion is the passion for the whole, for all. Compassion. Compassion arises out of our innate, veiled or unveiled, knowingness that we are the whole, that you are myself and I am yourself, we are one self, one reality. And the life gives us whatever situations. I like to think of them as opportunities. Because we have an interest, and our interest is in peace and happiness, not for ourselves, the causeless peace peace and happiness. So life presents us with opportunities. Some of these opportunities seem to be like a pinch. And the pinch is always trying to tell you, you are mistaking yourself to be a character in the dream. You're mistaking yourself to be a limited consciousness, while in fact you are not. So this is grace. Grace is always whispering to you. It whispers again and again. Sometimes it pulls your ear or pinches your ear. There is one destination, one reality. And that's beyond birth and death, beyond the sense of separation, the unhappiness. Francis sometimes says, if you are given a choice between keeping your body and losing consciousness, losing awareness, or losing your body and keeping awareness, what would you choose? You would choose awareness. What's the use of a body without awareness? So that which is primordial, which you value beyond all, is awareness. And all our fears and our concerns are not about the body. They're about me. Our worries and concerns and fears are not about the money, the house, the job. It's about me. Me, what's going to happen to me? But the true me is consciousness. There is no two me's. There isn't consciousness, awareness, and another reality called me. There's only one self, which is consciousness. So our worries and concern are about losing consciousness. What's going to happen to consciousness? What's going to happen to I? Of course, that's in ignorance. We really believe and feel that something's going to happen to I being awareness, consciousness. So the reminder is that nothing happens to I. I is not a phenomenal event that can be diminished or augmented. Awareness is not phenomenal. Nothing happens to reality. Nothing happens to awareness. We hear that and we get some glimpses of that. But the more we hear it and the more we understand it and the more we feel it and live it and accept it and think it and contemplate it, the less you find yourself leaving the peace and happiness of being to suffer the impression of being a man, a woman, a mortal body, mind. The body is something we manage, we care for, we take care of, we do our best to keep it in shape. But we are not the body. Like your car, you take care of your car, you take care of your pets, you take care of your bank account. But you're not the body, you're not the pet, you're not the car. So to relate with the body from that perspective, that being a wise manager, a wise, kind, loving, caring, not to disregard, but not to identify, not to identify.
Sometimes as the viewer of my life, I hope I didn't break your flow there. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, it's okay.
Okay. I'll almost feel like something happens and then I say, oh, this is the part where like I'm watching a movie and I remember, even though it hasn't happened yet, I'm like, oh, this is the part where I fall down the stairs. Wonder what's going to happen next. It's like a little narrator voice.
Mhm. Yes. Yes. I mean, every moment we're viewing, we're perceiving. But it's a further step that's not necessary to sort of, rather than just being the perceiving, to be somehow something's happening to me, you say. You perceive something's happening within the body. So then you tend to the body. You perceive something happening in the weather, it's gonna rain. So you close the shutters, you close the windows. You perceive something happening with your partner or your friend or your neighbor or your coworker. So you engage with them in trying to understand what's happening. How can you, what's your function there in that? What are you doing? What is your relationship? You're exploring that. It's one thing to be impartially, impersonally dealing responsibly to this situation with the body, with the world, with neighbors, and to there be something at stake for you. This switch where there's something at stake for you, something that you have to sort of protect fiercely, or there's some danger. You see. The body is always in flux, and the world is always in flux. There's always a danger. It could be an earthquake or what. That's at a realm, at the relative realm, the realm of phenomena that has nothing to do with reality, with awareness. That's why sometimes it's said in some of the spiritual teachings that you have to be willing to die, or you have to die. The true death is not death of the body. Who cares about that? It's a death of the me, this belief, this sense of separation, the imaginary me. we preserve it, we protect it. We value this fictitious me story, and we have a really good story about me. And we have a lot of evidence that the me is real. Yeah, she did this and he did that, and we feel, and we keep rehearsing these feelings, these stories about me. So we deeply entrench the me feeling in our experience. So we feel like, oh, well, I'm me, and I'm gonna take care of myself. It's all like a mind. It's a mind twist, mind torque. Because in fact, your awareness, it's always there, and nothing's happening to awareness. That's your primary experience is awareness. So shouldn't be so worried about this me, to invite the understanding and say, okay, I'm available for the understanding. Make yourself available for the understanding that the consciousness is not limited, it's not personal, it's not in the brain, in the body, dependent on the body, dependent on your health, I don't know. Because that's the fact. It's a fact that, when the mirror is reflecting a fire or is reflecting a beautiful sunset, nothing is happening to the mirror as a metaphor. Nothing is happening. So the you is expand the you. We have a limited you or limited me experience. To expand the me, expand yourself. So when you say you, refer to all of it, to you, this you like that, not you like this, you like that, with an open field of you, an open field of being, you see, so that you're not a limited object, and so you are, the vastness, you see, like the space, because the body itself is not like a separate existence in the universe. The body, the light, the water, the earth, the sunshine, the galaxies, all one realm in a way, one field of being. This tendency to materialize being, to make being like material form. But the you that hears these words right now is not a form. It's not a form. It's not a female hearing or a male hearing or a female perceiving or a male perceiving. No, that's not your experience. I know. Because my experience and your experience are not different. The mind is different. What I perceive is different. This is blue. You perceive red. But I'm talking about what we are, not what we perceive. The fact that we perceive different things doesn't mean we are different. I mean, this morning, you were in the kitchen, you were perceiving something different from what you are perceiving now. Does that mean that you are different? No, I mean, every moment you perceive something different, different thought, different sensation. But the fact that we perceive different things doesn't mean we are different. That the observer depends on that which is perceived. No. Anyways, I was just talking my house. Yes. Okay. Any questions? Hello, Holger.
Hello, Magdi. So we could say that there is a me and I am. Like the me, the person, the story, and I am the presence.
So the story is conceived, created, written, and perceived by the I am. Like Walter conceives poems, creates them, writes them, perceives them. Like in your dream, you create infinite forms and events and scenes, and you perceive them. You create them and you perceive them, and you're creating all of it. You're not just creating the character Holger, but you're also creating the character Magdi and Jimmy and Billy and Maria. And not only you're creating the characters, you're also creating their perceptions, because every character has a particular perception. So you're creating their perceptions. And not only you're creating their perception, but you are the perceiver of all their perceptions. Because they're all your creation. So you create the script moment by moment of every character in your creation. And you know the script. You're creating it. And you create the impression that character A has their own limited perceptual field and is unaware of characters B mind. You create the impression that character A's mind doesn't know character B, mind, while both character A's mind and characters B's mind, they're in the same ocean, which is your dream. They're in the same field. And you create the impression of time, years, centuries, millenniums, etc. You create the impression of time. So there could be in your dream 400 years that pass, or 40 years that pass, or 10 minutes that pass inside your choreographed dream. But in fact, there is no time. So you create the impression of time, with the impression of space also. While all of that is happening in the unific field of consciousness, the dreamer's mind. So the many me's are what you've choreographed. You have choreographed and created all these infinite me's. And the I am is the I of the dreamer, of presence, of awareness, of the creator. So I am is the creator, and all the me's, they're everything, not just the me's, the minds of the me's, the world, all minds and all worlds. Their reality is a relative reality in a way, if you can say that, relative reality. They have no reality of their own. Their reality is the creator, the conceiver, and the perceiver. This is not a story. This is, in fact, our experience, because if you look at your experience right now, you're not experiencing a Magdi out there. You're experiencing your experience. Right? You're experiencing your experience. So, in fact, there may be a thought, which is your experience, intimate, that says there is a Magdi out there. But in your experience, you cannot go out there. There isn't an out there. There isn't an out. How can you step out of your experience to go out there? You say, there isn't an out there. So distance from space in your direct experience is the infinity. It is not, there isn't like 10 meters or 20 meters, or there is no space, no limitation to the space in consciousness, of consciousness. That's why we say infinity, which is just maybe not the best appropriate word, but close enough. Okay, close enough. And in terms of time, you experience time, you don't actually experience time. You experience time as a thought and a sensation, but the thought and the sensation, and they're not occurring in time, they're occurring in the now, yes, in the now. It's as a sensation which is interpreted via conceptually and sensory as time, but this interpretation is just a mental interpretation occurring in the now. So the now is eternal. It's not squeezed in. It's not a squeezed in moment between past and future, because you never step out of the now. So how can it be squeezed in? I mean, if it's squeezed in, at some moment you're going to squeeze out of it, but you will never squeeze in or squeeze out. We don't squeeze into or squeeze out of the now. There are no gates or no doors to the now. It's just the gateless gate, you say. So when you say there is a me as an impression, as a choreographed me. But in fact, in reality, there's only reality, which we refer to as whatever it is, I, being, awareness, consciousness, Brahman, whatever, one reality. Doesn't matter what you refer to. You can call it matter if you want to. It doesn't matter what you call it. You call it water, you call it.
But you want to be understood by others, seeming others.
Yes. When there is understanding, there isn't a me or you, or there is no personal understander. Understanding is like the sun shining through the clouds. It's always shining, but there is a parting of the clouds. In understanding, you cannot understand in time. Time takes you to the edge of understanding. And then in understanding, it's timeless. And then time arises after the understanding with a story. Oh, I understood. I was talking with Holger and blah, blah, blah. I understood. So there is a before the understanding, then there is the understanding, and there is after the understanding. After the understanding is different from before the understanding. It's different because of the understanding. If there was no understanding, then it's not different. But the understanding, then the before the understanding and after the understanding is different. So our entire quote unquote spiritual path is about understanding. Because when there's understanding, then after the understanding is different from before the understanding. Before we didn't know the earth was round, for example. Then there's understanding. After that, the understanding is we cannot go back to the previous pre-understanding. Understanding is not something we get from somebody or something that the mind provides. The mind is activity. The activity of thinking, perceiving, sensing, emoting, etc. So the mind, being an activity, it cannot understand. It's just a movement. There's no understanding in the movement. The understanding happens at the end of the movement. When the movement stops, ceases to be, then there is understanding. Now, the movement before the understanding is instrumental to bring you to the edge of the understanding. So it serves a purpose, like our conversations, your studies, your meditations, all these activities, whatever, about truth. They are activities of the mind, of the body, of the mind. And they serve a purpose, but they are not the source of the understanding. The source of understanding is consciousness. So they bring you to the edge, and then there is the understanding. The understanding is a result of both your love about truth, love of truth, your dedication, your pursuit, your inquiry, your investigation, and grace, God's love, the whisperer, the whisperer's whisper. It is not any personal effort or personal activities that are instrumental to the understanding. It is your love for truth, and you're living, trusting and having the courage to go for it.
I wouldn't even know how to formulate a sentence. I mean, it just comes. It just...
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, we don't know. We don't know. There is, our not knowingness is truth. There is truth in not knowing. You are right. I don't know what's the next word I'm going to say. We don't know what's the next second. We don't know. That's true. That's more true than anything that we think we know this, I know that, blah, 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 blah. No. It's 99% not knowing, 1% we know. We know that our car is in the garage, hopefully. Still there. So, but somehow we feel that that's not a good thing to not know. We think that we need to know. So we are like, you know, in the United States is a big business, which is storage business. You know, those places store it all, storage. You can pay, you know, $200 a month and you have storage. It's a big business to have more things, and to the attic and the cellar is full of things, you know, and then we put things in storage. So this is like, this accumulation. At the mind level, it's the same thing. We feel that we have to know a lot of things, you see.
Magdi, I would have a good deal for you. If you're interested in some future happiness,
yeah,
I could help you.
You have a big storage space. Yeah. So, but in not knowing, there's a space. You say the space is a space uncluttered, and so it's fresh. Because, of course, we don't exist in time. So in this moment, there is the spaciousness, the availability. See, we are not holding on to any positions or beliefs, or so, and we are available for, you know, whatever. We can go this way, that way, you know, okay. Overall availability. Of course, you know, we have also some conditions in our life, we don't ignore them, but there is an availability.
But there is a pseudo, I mean, here in satsang, it's so easy because you are here, there's a trust, there's love, there's a quietness, but there's this pseudo fear about this unknowing in the normal,
of course,
confetti of
yes,
day.
because we feel security in things, and objective security, you know, mental security and objective security. You are right. Yes, it's not but you see, it hasn't provided the peace and happiness. I mean, okay, how much longer? Okay, 10 more years, 20 more years, 30, 50, 1,000 more years? I mean, it's, you know, the fear about letting go of our position, of our point of view, of our things, or whatever, you know, whatever we're holding on to. At its root is a fear. So we say, okay, well, there is a fear. Okay, yes, there is a fear. So what is it? Do we want the fear? No. No. So, okay. So, then I recognize it's a fear. So therefore, that's not the direction. It's not the direction to maintain, you say. It's not the direction. No. So you can explore new directions. And, in satsang, you are free and happy. You experience the freedom and the happiness, the causeless freedom and happiness. And that you don't experience it just like, oh, it's nothing. It's an experience. It changes you. You have no choice about it. It changes you. It's inevitable. Whatever, even though the mind is saying, no, nothing's happening, it's inevitable. So it's going to start to invite you to put your toe in the water. It's going to invite you to put your toe in the water. So you will start by putting your toe in the water, then you put your foot, etc. Because you already know that there is fear in opening, in being present and exploring, just being, not being somebody, being, just exploring, being, living as being. There is fear. And so because the fear is, we hold on to it. We don't want to let it go. We don't want to let it go. So we say, okay, no, there is fear. So don't mess with my fear, we say. So know the fear. I'm comfortable with the fear. It's my fear. And I'm not going to, I'm just going to stay with my fear. This doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. So fear is not the issue. It's that we like our fear.
Yeah, there's a familiarity. It's better to have the familiarity of the fear than the uncertainty of not knowing.
Yes, but yes, you are right. But in fact, in this moment, you cannot predict the next moment.
No.
So we are more familiar experientially. We are more familiar with not knowing experientially than this whole knowing, Shahabya, the whole narrative of knowing. Because our experience is always not knowing, factually, experientially, which we overlay with some narrative about me in time and tomorrow and this and that and that. But the overlay of our experience doesn't actually mean that we know, because we don't know we don't know what we are, which is a good thing. In fact, we don't know what we are, which is a good thing. But we don't accept that. We don't accept that we don't know. So we say, no, I know. I am this, that, this and that, my mom, my dad, my father, my brother, whatever, but in fact, we don't know. How can you know? How can a mind narrative, because a narrative is a mind narrative. How can a mind narrative know? It's just a narrative. Narrative, there's no knowledge in the narrative. There is just a script in the narrative. Script A, script B, scripts in many scripts. There isn't actually knowing. There is just, what do you call it? On a white page, you make a little figures. It could be in Aramaic, or it could be in Chinese, or it could be in French or whatever. And they're just little scribbles. They are scribbles. So when you look at the scribbles, if you don't know Chinese, they're just scribbles. But a Chinese person is a meaning. You see, it's just a mind thing. It's because the mind has been arranged to recognize those Chinese scribbles, while you recognize, the different scribbles, and recognize Arabic scribbles. You see, but if you look at them, they're just scribbles. You see, but for me, they have a meaning. So the meaning at the mind level is just a narrative, a local electromagnetic field, a local resonance with the instrument. The instrument, like you cannot take a flute and pluck the strings on the flute. You have to pluck the strings on the guitar. You cannot blow in the guitar, you have to blow into the flute, right? So these are particular mind structures that respond to a certain stimulus in a certain way, where there is some resonance. But the understanding, when there is understanding, the understanding is not in Chinese or in English or in Arabic or in musical notes of the guitar or the flute. Understanding is not in any mind form or event form. Understanding is formless. So anyways, I forgot what we were talking about. So yes. Right.
It's beautiful. And I'm very happy with my characters.
You're really happy with, huh?
With my characters.
Your characters.
The characters in mind.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I have trouble. I still have trouble with the Holger character, but it's getting better.
Holger is one of the. We play in the same sandbox,
Yeah.
We play in the same sandbox. We don't take the character to be
Too serious.
so seriously, but we play the game for fun. It's fun to play games. I like to play games. I used to have 5 brothers. We used to play a lot of games together. I used to love to create stories. I would create these stories, these imaginary stories, and we would sort of sit together and we would live these stories. So a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Okay, okay. Okay, dear friends, beautiful, lovely to be with you all. Frank, nice to see you, Walter, Nathan, Holger, Marga, Richard, Nina.
Thank you, Magdi.
Zoe, Primera, hello Primera, Holly, George, Alan, Kelly, Frank, twice Frank, and Shiva, Desmond, Lucas, John, and Jenny. I'm sorry if I miss anybody. Somehow the images, they move around. And anyways, love you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you all.